They didn't just make power. They changed a generation of enthusiasts. They didn't just spin pistons, they turned dreams into reality. And they didn't just rev to redline. They rewrote the definition of what a tunable engine could be. One was raw, unpredictable, and full of character. A renegade that exploded onto the scene and captivated a global tuning community. The other arrived as refinement incarnate. Stronger, smarter, more resilient, and engineered with the lessons of decades wrapped in aluminum and tech. This isn't just about horsepower figures or mod lists. This is a story about two engines that defined an era, the BMW N54 and the B58. Two inline-six legends that forever reshaped what enthusiasts expect from performance and tuning. One was the spark that lit the fire, the other was the flame that made it burn brighter, longer, and cleaner. This is BMW N54 versus B58, tuning legends compared. In the mid-2000s, the automotive world was still shaking off the residue of big, naturally aspirated engines and beginning to flirt seriously with forced induction. Turbocharging was no longer niche, but it wasn't ubiquitous either. Engineers at BMW saw an opportunity, not just to build a fast engine, but to build one that would feel alive under your right foot. In 2006, the N54 debuted under the hood of the E9X 335 wide. It was noteworthy for one radical reason: twin small turbos feeding an inline-six. That configuration gave near-zero lag, a broad torque curve, and a level of mid-range punch that made V8s look outdated. Combined with BMW's signature balance and precision, the N54 didn't just perform well, it felt responsive, almost like it was listening to you before you even made a request. But what really made the N54 into a tuning legend was its simplicity and over-engineering in key areas. It had a robust bottom end, fairly generous internals, and turbos that breathed responsively right from the start. Enthusiasts didn't have to reinvent the basics, they just had to tweak them. Within months of its release, tuners discovered what BMW had hidden behind that understated engine cover. Just a flash of software, a few hardware upgrades, and suddenly the 335i was putting down numbers that rivaled, and often eclipsed, much more expensive cars. The N54 didn't just make power, it invited you to make more of it. The N54 quickly became beloved, not just because it was fast, but because it was tunable. Remember a time when you had to change every bolt to break into the high 400s? Not with this engine. Injectors, intakes, downpipes, intercoolers, just a few common bolt-ons and the stock engine would happily eat them up and ask for more. 600 horsepower? Easy. 700? Totally doable. Over 800 with a well-sorted single-turbo setup? People were doing it on weekends. The N54 wasn't just an engine, it was a movement. It turned everyday enthusiasts into garage engineers. Forums exploded with builds from every corner of the world. JB4 boxes, AFE intakes, Wagner intercoolers, VTT single turbos, parts catalogs turned into menus of possibility, and people showed their work. You didn't have to imagine the power. You could see it on dyno charts, YouTube runs, and quarter-mile slips. Drivers felt like alchemists, turning bolt-ons into horsepower and torque, lighting up rear tires with nothing but precise calibration and respect for boost. But with great boost came great complexity. Over time, the N54 also built a reputation for a handful of notorious issues: high-pressure fuel pump failures, aging injectors, carbon buildup, the side effects of direct injection and turbo torque. Still, for those who loved it, those early adopters, weekend builders, and rising stars in the tuner scene, none of that mattered. It was part of the engine's soul, a reminder that power that cheap sometimes demands patience and respect. BMW engineers watched the N54 phenomenon with pride. and with scrutiny. They saw what the community did with their engine, and more importantly, they saw where it struggled. Heat management, fueling systems, and emissions compliance were areas that needed refinement. So when the next generation arrived, BMW didn't just tweak the old formula, they rethought it entirely. Enter the B58, launched in 2015 as part of BMW's new modular engine family. On paper, it looked familiar. 3 liters, turbocharged inline-six, silky smooth delivery. But beneath the surface, the B58 was engineered with lessons from the N54 and decades of BMW refinement. The block was closed deck, making it stronger. The cooling system was reworked for sustained performance. The intake and turbine housing were integrated in ways that reduced thermal losses. Fuel delivery was upgraded, and overall it was designed from day one to be both powerful and compliant with modern efficiency rules. Unlike the N54, the B58 didn't feel wild or unpredictable. It was controlled, measured, more civilized, but no less potent. And just like its predecessor, tuners quickly discovered what was under the hood. From the start, the B58 was an engineering statement. BMW put in a water-to-air intercooler right beneath the intake plenums, a feature that helped keep intake temps manageable, even when pushed hard. The crankshaft was forged, the block was stronger, the cooling system was sophisticated. In stock form, the B58 made about 330 to 380 horsepower depending on the variant. But once again, that number was conservative, a baseline tucked under a modest sticker. A simple flash and an upgraded downpipe often pushed the B58 into the 420 to 450 horsepower range with surprising ease. Add bigger turbos, upgraded fueling, and track-ready cooling, and the B58 started to saturate the 500 to 600 plus horsepower range, all while maintaining daily drivability. What made the B58 special wasn't just how much power it could make, it was how it made that power. Where the N54 felt raw, aggressive, and immediate, the B58 was linear, balanced, and confident. Torque spread across the rev range. The turbos didn't just spool, they built boost with a purpose. Heat was managed, and once again, tuners didn't kill the engine trying to make it fast. In many ways, the B58 was what the N54 always tried to be, a blend of power, refinement, and reliability, executed at a much higher level. When you compare the N54 and B58 side by side, the differences tell a story. The N54 was an adrenaline bomb. It rewarded aggression. It thrived on adrenaline. It made tuning accessible and exciting. Unlocking power was a journey of bold experimentation. The B58 is a surgical instrument. It rewards precision. It doesn't scream for attention. It just performs. The N54 was the engine that convinced the world that BMW could turbocharge with personality. The B58 was the engine that proved that BMW could turbocharge with consistency, compliance, and refinement. Every enthusiast who's driven both has felt it. The N54 feels like you're up to something, like you've discovered a secret. The B58 feels like you're exactly where you're meant to be, like every part of the engine understands its role. Both engines can be reliable, but they behave differently. The N54, because of its older direct injection components and early turbo tech, developed a reputation for certain failure points: high-pressure fuel pump issues, injector failures, carbon buildup on the intake valves. These problems were real, but they were well documented, well understood, and relatively cheap to fix compared to other performance engines of the era. The B58. Cooler running, more efficient, and designed with newer tech. It didn't suffer from the same problem areas, and heat management was improved right from the factory. That means fewer horror story rebuilds and more daily driver with big power builds. In other words, the N54 required respect, the B58 required patience. That's a subtle but important difference. Engine sound is a big part of emotional connection. The N54 made a sound that felt alive. The turbo spool was aggressive. The mid-range pull felt urgent. And when you nailed the throttle, it barked with intention. The B58, in contrast, sounds smoother, cleaner, more refined. It doesn't bark, it sings. The turbo noises are less intrusive, more integrated into the engine's holistic character. Both sounds have advocates. Some enthusiasts will always side with the N54's visceral, throttle-first personality. Others prefer the B58's layered, mature voice, an engine that sounds like it was composed, not just assembled. The N54 and B58 are not just engines. They're pillars of BMW's modern performance era. The N54 brought enthusiasts back to aftermarket culture. It made turbocharging exciting in a way that few engines before it had. The B58 took that legacy and expanded it. It filled BMW's performance lineup with effortless power. It became a platform that could handle huge upgrades without drama. And, most importantly, both engines brought BMW's Inline-Six philosophy into the modern age. The Inline-Six is not just about balance, it's about emotion, it's about feel, it's about character. And both the N54 and B58 embody those traits in their own ways. So, the real question isn't which engine is technically superior, it's which engine speaks to your passion. Do you want the raw, pioneering aggression of the N54, the engine that rewrote what modern Turbo 6s could do? Or do you want the refined, relentless perfection of the B58, the engine that took that legacy and made it stronger, cleaner, and more enduring? There is no wrong answer, because both engines are legends. Both changed the game. Both earned their place in history, and both remind us of something crucial. Tuning is not just about numbers, it's about feeling. It's about connection. It's about why we fell in love with engines in the first place. So, what do you think? Is the N54 the ultimate tuner's dream? Or does the B58's refinement make it the modern champion? Let me know in the comments. And if you love deep dives into the engines that shaped car culture, subscribe to Past Pistons. Because here, we don't just explore engines. We keep their legends alive, now one rev at a time.